Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Ask Alex podcast, where we answer all your questions that you have regarding startups and investments. Now, today we have a question from Corey in the US. Corey asks, how can I prepare for a meeting with potential pre-seed investor? Thanks, Corey. Now, raising money, it's hard, it's laborious, and it can be pretty scary. So making sure that you do the right things is certainly a very wise question, and I'm glad that you've asked it. So I'm going to run through with you on about 8-9 points of what I think are the most valuable things that you should be doing and can be doing. So let's start off with the first one. You need to have a pretty website. Now, I know that seems super lame, but what do you think the first thing people do whenever they hear about your startup? They check your website, right? Sure, they may have your deck, but the go-to place is the website. And if you see something really crappy, you can be sure that they are going to really question your credibility. So get a pretty nice site up and make sure it just looks great because it's going to sell for you. So the next thing you want to do, number 2, is check your online presence, because after the website, they want to see LinkedIn. Who are you? Where have you worked? Do you have, shared connections, which establishes some social proof? So if you've got no shared connections, you're a third-degree connection. Is this guy already plugged in the industry? Or do you have 250 shared connections, which is obviously great, and there's a lot of people that you can check up on with then. Look at other places. Do you have an AngelList profile? Obviously, if you're raising the AngelList, you're thinking about this already, but that's another place where people may check up on you. So make sure everyone on your team has the profiles up to scratch and correct. Now, next, know everything about your industry. If you don't already, why are you fundraising? Know everything that's going on, all the trends, all the right buzzwords, the terminology. It's pretty embarrassing to make out that you're a tech expert, but if you say the wrong things, you're going to get called out on BS pretty fast, right? So know everything that's going on. If you are doing an AI company, which is super hot right now, and you're pitching an investor who actually knows about it, it can be a really great icebreaker to build rapport, to discuss everything that's happening in AI. So really understand that topic and be able to talk about it passionately, because this is what you're meant to be doing. And investors love passion. They love for you to be the expert. So share that passion with them. Next, you need to know all your business metrics, and not just knowing what they are, but be able to sell them, okay? Unless you're Slack going up and towards the right in a relatively vertical manner, you're not going to have all the perfect metrics, right? So I talk about this like tits and ass. If you don't have tits, then you sell the ass. If you don't have, if you've got a bony ass, then you focus on the top side, right? So select what it is that you want to accentuate. If you don't have massive revenue, then you can talk about your growth rates. You can talk about your retention. If it's, say, e-commerce, and what is the time to second purchase? Think about what your metrics are and how you want to communicate those to people. But that starts with actually knowing what they are and having the right ones in the first place. So if someone says, what's your MRR? What's your ARR? What's your GMV? What's your growth rate? What's your CAC? What's your LTV? You don't know these things? That's freaking scary. The next element of that, of course, is your financial forecast. So how much revenue will be making in year 5? These are all questions that you need to have the answers to. You've probably watched Dragon's Den and seen people look totally foolish when they get asked a basic question like what their revenue is, and they, I know this. No, that's not right. I mean, you look really stupid, right? So know your metrics, know your numbers. Next, you want to research the investor. Know thy enemy, if you will. Who is this person? Are they investing the right stage? Are they do they have sector expertise? Have they invested in any of your competitors? That's probably something you should check, right? Look at what deals they've done, and then use that information to prep some smart questions. Of course, during a meet, they'll probably ask, so do you have any questions for us? And if they don't, feel free to ask. This is meant to be a two-way relationship, right? Make the investor work to get into your company rather than you working just to get their money. Be the prize. So doing your research will also make you look like a pro. VCs want to feel special. They don't want to feel like what they are, a commodity, money. And I know you want it, but you have to play the game a little. People love to talk about themselves, so you knowing a lot about your investor gives them the opportunity for them to talk more about themselves. Get an intro to the investor. How you get in the room can often be more important than actually just getting into the room. So you may just think, hey, Alex, whatever, that's the world's rubbish advice, right? I know I'm amazing. Once they get in the room, they're going to give me like the huge check that I want. Well, it doesn't really work this way, okay? There's an information asynchronity. So you know what you're about, but the investor doesn't know you from Adam. How do you think this is going to work? You say, hey, Alex, so I'm doing this e-commerce company. Can you give me $1.5 million, please? I think I'd like to have a little bit more whining and dining before, we go to the bedroom. So what is a great way for me to trust you a bit more? Social proof, right? You getting into the room because some top investor or some really well-known founder, or maybe a founder in their portfolio said, hey, Jim Breyer, you should really chat to Mary. She is just awesome. You're going to love what they're doing. The metrics are fantastic. Seriously, take a meeting with Mary, right? So when Mary comes in the room, I'm like, okay, this founder who I respect thinks Mary is awesome. I'm already kind of getting that vibe that maybe you're someone I can trust. But if I don't know you and you just, send me an email, hey, Alex, managed to find your email on LinkedIn. We're doing an e-commerce company stuff. Let's have a chat. It's not the same thing, VCs need to have that trust for you. So how you get that meeting with investor really matters. Okay, let's say you just learned this and you're thinking, uh-oh, I've really messed up. Well, you can't fix that, See if you can get someone to recommend you or reintroduce you for the second time. All you're trying to do is fundamentally build trust with that investor. So understand really how you get in the room really matters. Practice on your own, right? You really, really need to know your pitch. So I can remember when I was pitching a company, an enterprise company, I knew the pitch so well that I would literally be able to do work and pitch investors at the same time. I just knew the spiel off by heart, just like every single word what I would say. And I also knew the variations. So if they threw in a little question, a little curveball there, I already had my spiel to address all that. And I could literally get work done at the same time. You need to have that level of comprehension that you could actually do work whilst pitching. All right. And clearly, if you're sitting there, hearing a question or trying to explain your market size, and you have to think about it. Oh, how big is my TAM? Oh, yeah, I think they said it. You are not practiced enough. So sit down, write a script, stand out loud, and practice. After the first couple of times, then get a camera and record yourself. If you don't have a camera, at least, record. There's no excuse for not being able to record, right? And listen to what you're saying. Does it make sense? Is that what you want to do? Then adjust your pitch as you go along. Next, once you actually know your pitch, you want to pitch someone and get feedback from them. Now, don't ask your mum. Don't ask someone super nice, like a yes man. Oh, Alex, that was a really good pitch. I just thought everything was perfect. You don't want that. You want to find the grumpiest person you can find who will tear you to pieces. Find someone who will be even more mean than the VC, who are generally never mean, and get them to give you a really hard time. Because then when you actually go pitch VCs, you'll have thick skin. All right. The best people will be an investor if you can. Do a trial run, get them to give you some perspective on that. Talk to a founder, CEO of a company who's raised money before. They're great because they actually know what they're doing. Next, find your friends or professionals and see what they think. If you really are a bit desperate, go to Starbucks and say, to some guy who's got a Mac with a bunch of stickers on it, I'll buy you coffee if you listen to my pitch and give me some feedback. Would that be cool? There's always ways of getting feedback from people. Just figure it out, but do it. Now, finally, practice questions that VCs are going to ask you, because you are going to get questions. The whole spiel, the pitch, it's just one thing. And bear in mind, investors are never going to allow you to just talk for 10 minutes and say, thank you very much, Alex, for that presentation. Now I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. The best pitches are actually just conversations where the questions are just starting straight away. There are a list of questions that VCs are always going to ask. What is your growth? Tell me about your team. What is the size of the market? What's like the key insight that you've seen as to why this is going to be great? Why is the timing now? What's your unfair advantage? Can you build a competitive moat? Tell me about your financials, your metrics. There's a whole list of questions that people are going to ask, right? And so you can actually prepare for that in advance. In your pitch deck, you can also make a supplementary one with a whole bunch of appendix slides. And so if you know what the obvious questions are, or you've been pitching and you've been asked questions, you can actually make slides answering those specific questions. I mean, how professional does it look if you get asked about a question like you're around your cohorts and you say, thanks, Jim. Thanks for asking that. If you don't mind, I've prepared a slide for this already. I can bring it up and I can show you what our cohorts are. I mean, that's professional, right? So you can prepare for all these questions. But you're probably thinking, what are the questions going to be? I've never fundraised before. Well, I got you covered. I spent a weekend and I have 4 ebooks that you can download. And I'll put a link to this on the show notes on alexanderjarvis.com/askalex. And you'll be able to see a whole bunch of questions. I mean, there's something like 30, 40 for all the categories you can think of. Your exit questions, your financial questions, your sales questions. I've got you covered. And it's going to cover, probably 95% of all the questions you will get asked. So that's that, Corey. I hope that was really valuable. If you've got any more questions, feel free to follow up to me. If you have a question yourself and you'd like to be featured in Ask Alex, then head over to alexanderjarvis.com/Ask Alex. And there's a little button at the bottom where you can ask your question. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for spending time with me.